I think that you have the best experiences and you attract the right types of partners and builders and energy when you're actually in your flow state of enjoying yourself, you're having fun.
We at Uptop don't like go out and pitch ourselves. It's just like having those really natural conversations at side events.
First of all, you've got to show up as your best self. I can't say enough good things about drinking water. If you're young, even if you're old.
GM, and welcome to the Where You At podcast, hosted by Marcus Dorson of Uptop Search, the leading talent agency for hiring in Web3. Tap in as we speak to real people building in the trenches about where they're at in their careers and how they've stepped their game up in their current role. We're dropping career alpha for the culture, the community, and highlighting people who are pushing the space forward.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Uptop Search's new podcast, Where You At, where we spotlight our remarkable candidates in their journey as we elevate their careers to new heights together. I'm Marcus, and today thrilled to dive into the story of Charco, who is head of DeFi ecosystem at Camp Network. This week, I think, are both recovering from ECC in Brussels, and excited to hear how it went for you, man. I want to break down kind of how you think about attending these conferences, what you try and get out of them, how do you manage your time, how do you be strategic and tactical, and then obviously catch up on the latest happening at Camp Network. I'm sure you guys have a lot of cool stuff in the pipeline, so would love to hear about that. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Marcus. It's kind of crazy that we never ran into each other over the 7 days that we were both in Brussels. With so many events overlapping, I'm sure the stars just never aligned.
Yeah, I'm just going to call it what it is. It's a bit of bullshit, honestly, that we didn't get to at least have a beer while we were stuck in the shittiest European capital city. Is that what we're going with? What's your
I didn't.
How justified was the Brussels hate?
No, it was justified, man. I don't know, because I spent the entire summer in Italy. And so I got a lot of culture and good food and cheap prices and, I don't know, old buildings. Everything in Brussels looked like it was recently renovated and had a low cost makeover. Everything felt plasticky and there wasn't a bunch of history or lore. I don't know. The lore of Italy is unmatched. So it's a stark contrast to cities like Naples, which are shitty in their own right, but a shitty in a fun, dangerous way.
I feel like it's a little unfair to compare the history of a country to the seat of the Roman Empire. You know, it does feel like you're setting the bar. Maybe, I mean, you're talking to me from Jacksonville, Florida right now. How does Brussels compare to Orlando, let's say, another great global city?
Okay, that's an interesting comparison. I think it's really hard to compare America and Europe because America is so big and spread out. You really feel the space difference. The entire country was just kind of urban sprawled into what it is today, whereas Brussels was, to its credit, very walkable, very convenient transport wise. So I will say, good place to have a conference from just sheer convenience of access.
I will say the beer was great. The chocolate was great. The food was cheap. I would have paid 5 times as much for the same meal in New York or San Francisco. I was pretty impressed with the quality of French food that I had. Great French wines. Now you might be saying, did you really go to Brussels to eat and drink? And the answer is no. I went to work, although I did also eat and drink a considerable amount. It was great. Heading into a conference, whether it's an international conference, domestic, how are you preparing ahead of time for the conference? I think it can be kind of a trap to go into these without a really strong plan of attack, because you can easily just start wasting hours, wasting days, and feel like you didn't get everything you wanted to get out of that conference. So how do you kind of approach this, make sure that you're set up for success?
I think on one side you have extreme organization, and then on the other side you have complete chaos. And the best strategy is somewhere in the middle, where you should have a short list of people that you want to meet. I would generally put those people into 2 buckets. One of them is existing relationships that you want to solidify and deepen. And then the other is new relationships that you want to double down on. And you should go into the conference having those meetings preordained, scheduled, they're going to happen. but you should definitely leave some flexibility for going with the flow. Ideally, you're going with the flow with a group of friends, with, partners, or, you wrap up a meeting with somebody that was on your list. Then you both go, hey, let's go to the same conference together, side event. And then you can both bump into new people. They can introduce you to the people that they know. You can introduce them to people that'll help their careers or pursuits. So I like having a bit of a blend. I think that a lot of these events are really important to attend because you learn new things by being there. You meet the partners of those protocols and in ways that just feel more organic than kind of forcing someone to have a meeting. And yeah, it's just also not good quality of life to be rushing around from meeting place to meeting place to meeting place and be running around with a chicken with its head cut off. It's not fun. And I think that you have the best experiences and you attract the right types of partners and builders and energy when you're actually in your flow state of enjoying yourself, you're having fun. So as silly as it sounds, like you should have fun at these conferences to some degree. Otherwise,
No, it's totally true because you can get wound up, especially like with anticipation, and you get there like I got to Brussels. I like got off a flight from London, took a train to Brussels, tried to go to the first event like within an hour of hitting Brussels, and just had nothing. Like I was empty inside. Like I could not give an ounce of myself to the event. I was like complete wallflower, and I just wasn't ready. Like I was not in the right like headspace and flow space to be able to have that just like productive, easy conversation that you have to be able to have, right? Because we've all been there where you see the guy walk up who's super stiff, who's like tense, and it's a vibe killer. Like nobody wants to talk to that guy. So, I think it's almost better to just like do what you got to do, go for a run, like get out of there, even if it means missing a side event that, could be interesting to like get your mind right for this. I completely agree on doubling down on existing relationships. And, maybe it's the person that you've only talked to online or in chat that you want to spend some one-on-one time with, solidify the relationship. For me, I feel like the side events become really important because we at Uptop don't like go out and pitch ourselves. Like we're not outbound BD. We're not like cold calling people. A lot of it's inbound referrals. And a lot of like my productive time doing BD work at a conference is literally just meeting people at side events and just letting them talk to me. What are you building? What challenges does that look like? Just like really understanding like deeply people's projects, their personal life. And then eventually they get around to saying like, what are you doing here? And I tell them, hey, like we're with UpTop Search. This is what we do. And if it makes sense for us to connect further, we do. But that's where I've gotten a lot of my best outcomes. It's just like having those really natural conversations at side events. I think there's like feeling.
I just want to riff on that. I agree full-heartedly. First of all, you've got to show up as your best self. And that's really the challenge, the marathon of conferences is being able to come on a Thursday, on a Friday when you've been going since Sunday as the energetic, enthusiastic, passionate person that you are. That's actually super high leverage, just showing up authentically and showing up. The other piece that you mentioned is the spontaneity of meetings. And if you are booking every minute out, then you've guaranteed that you'll see the people that you want to see, and sometimes you don't because they cancel on you because they're going with the flow and it just doesn't make sense. And you can do this async. But what you miss out on by doing 30 minutes with one person, hopping into an Uber, doing 30 minutes with another person, that is a one interaction that took you an hour and a half. Whereas if you spend 30 minutes with someone, then spend 30 minutes at that side event just mingling, you can have 10 conversations, 5 solid conversations in that time frame. Sometimes the conversations aren't super productive. And so you have to develop that skill set of being able to excuse yourself when it's just not a relevant thing. And, sometimes it's kind of mean to say that, but ideally you're able to bump into people that you wouldn't have scheduled something with. You didn't even know their company existed. And by saying your project a million times to a million people, they'll recognize it. They'll hear it. I mean, I think of comms and marketing and go to market in crypto as touch points. Like how many times does someone have to see your name before it sticks and you become a household name? they've got to see some tweets, they've got to see some announcements, they've got to see some blog posts, someone has to be talking on a panel, they have to see your name on an event list, they have to meet someone and hear, oh, you should talk to Camp Network. And how do people know about what you do? It's not scalable. Do things that don't scale, but having those one-on-one conversations is super valuable for seeding your name, your brand, your narrative in the crypto ecosystem, which is why I think conferences are super high leverage.
I learn something new kind of every time I go to one about how I want to approach it and how to do it better and smarter and more efficient. And I think one thing that I heard a lot about from Brussels was just that there were too many side events. And I think this is like its own skill set. How do you prioritize which events to go to, which are going to be more high leverage? And it's going to be different for everybody depending on what they're trying to do. Are they trying to get as much brand exposure for their project as possible? Or are they trying to have a more intimate conversation with somebody, right? You're going to go to different events. For me, what I've realized is if there's like more than 1,000 people RSVPing, really even more than like 500, probably not worth me going to. Like, I'm going to do my best work in a small venue, whether it's a small bar, whether it's another just intimate venue. And I'm going to be able to like really work the crowd in a way that's effective. I don't know. Did you make it to the Aptos SUI event? You're the king of group chats. You run one of the biggest BD group chats out there. And I know the organizers in that. So RIP, it was pretty tough, but it was like 30 minutes north, huge venue. Nobody showed up, right? Like empty keynote, like brutal, right? And so there seems to be like an inherent inefficiency to how these side events are being kind of like thought of and organized. How do you prioritize which event to go to?
Yeah, I know the Modular Summit was thinly attended. I went for one day, but I had to order an Uber, and many people didn't leave like a walkable radius, so just never attended. But I also know the organizers of that event, and they flat out admit that it was a mistake to book that venue. And if you can book something that's close to all the other events, that's really important for attendance. And sometimes you kind of leave like the time overlap up to chance because you don't know when people are booking their events. And you might just get unlucky with like a super must attend event happening at the exact same time as yours. But that picture of the Aptos panel was super brutal because there's just an empty crowd, and it was tough.
Yeah,
it was tough.
It
but
was tough. I was there. I didn't stay till the end. But I was there for first couple panels, and great speakers. It sucks. It was super professional. Like, everything was really well done. Just nobody showed up, right? Yeah.
Lightning in a bottle the other way.
Exactly. Yeah. So how do you kind of figure out, you get so many events put in front of you. How are you choosing?
A lot of them comes down to who's sponsoring. Usually I think, do I want this person in my ecosystem? Do I want this team, doing their infrastructure on RL2, building their DApp on RL2? Are they an existing partner of ours? Or did somebody that I respect and know well recommend me go to that event? Is there somebody there that I'll know and can introduce me to their friends? So it's there's no like perfect algorithm for it, but yeah, when you can avoid the service providers, this is going to be mean for anyone that's working at a service provider, but there's a lot of like these Web 2.5 companies that are kind of surrounding crypto and they're organizing events. Those are less high leverage than a event organized by a DApp or by a chain, in my experience. So yeah, I know that Up Top is an agency. You guys are different.
Yeah, we're special.
I will say, you guys have had some really great events. One of my favorites, so ETH Denver 2 years ago, I attended Cigar Night, and it was attended by like maybe 10 people. They didn't rent out the venue or anything, but it was still fun. But then last year at ETH Denver, the same venue, totally rented out, totally packed, way oversubscribed event list, co-partnered with a market maker. And it was like a really institutional crowd, cigars and whiskey in a very nice hotel. So that was a super fun event where, what do I have to talk to a market maker or a recruiting agency about? But the people in that room were really high quality. So you guys curated a good one.
Yeah, I think we want to do strategic events. I think the ETH Denver Cigar Night was a banger. Like, everybody said that they absolutely loved it. We got some really good quality talent that came through. I don't know if we'll do an event at Token 2049. I know we did last year. I wasn't there for that, but I'm told it was awesome. I've been trying to do these like more intimate kind of dinners at these conferences. It's like my happy place is sitting around breaking bread with people. That's where I like to live. I've really enjoyed that, honestly. I really like the intimate settings. Like, I just feel like people can really relax. They can like just breathe a little bit. And I feel like you get a different level of connection and conversation. And ultimately, whether you're in recruiting, whether you're in BD, this is a business on relationships, making people feel good, making people feel heard, right? And so creating
100%.
an environment where you can, have that opportunity, I think is super valuable and honestly super fun for me to organize. So definitely expect you at our next dinner for sure.
Viewer, if you are ever fortunate enough to earn a Marcus dinner invite, you should definitely attend. And Marcus, I'm thinking about one of my favorite events, one of my favorite side events was the 9 holes of 3-par golf that we played. And I wore a backpack and sweated through my shirt the whole time in Austin, Texas. That was a great time. And, we didn't do a ton of BD while we were playing golf, but.
No. Consensus 2023. And we played a pitch and putt. And it's a great example, though, of like very memorable event and gave us a couple hours to just like kick it with some other really quality people, I think. Who was it? The BD guy from Sega, the Australian guy who's the man. Adam. Yeah, Adam was there. We had Austin, who's the founder in the urban ecosystem, and Will the Trail, obviously, was hanging there too, swinging. So, that was a great one. I want to kind of just get into like, and I don't even know if you think about this. I've been thinking about it a lot more because I'm old, so I have to like really manage myself, manage my energy day to day at these conferences, and I've been thinking tactically about how I try and approach each day. So it's like in the mornings, I feel like I'm the most productive in a lot of ways. Like I basically try and do, in the mornings, I'm like going to the coffee events, I'm hitting side events. I'm probably doing this up until 6 p.m. And that like 4 to 6 is also really prime time. People are starting to have their first beers. They're starting to loosen up and relax into the day. And then dinner. And then I kind of call it after dinner now. I'm like, I'm done. I'm not going to Rave. I'm not going to Bear Rave. I'm going to bed and I'm going to wake up and do it all again tomorrow. But do you have any strategies for just how to like, I think you called it a marathon, just to get through the marathon that is like a 4 or 5 day, especially international conference when you're flying, you get jet lag. Like it's a real management thing to get through it. So how do you like manage yourself?
I can't say enough good things about drinking water. I think that a lot of people get dehydrated at these conferences because they just forget. They're talking constantly, and then 5, 6 o'clock comes around, they have a beer in their hand and they haven't drank any water. And I mean, your brain needs water. So if you're going to have a productive morning, it starts by hydrating well the night before. Such a weird cliche answer, but
so true.
It's actually super important.
True.
So drink your water. But yeah, I mean, you kind of have to pace yourself. I like to recuse myself into a corner for 10 minutes every hour to 2 and get some notes written down, do some follow-ups, make group chats, all those things that are going to make my life easier after the conference and actually, ensure that the work that was done and the people that were met, are followed up on and something is able to happen from that. So that's super important. And then that magical 4:30 p.m. beer at a conference is one of the unmatched feelings in crypto when you
it really is.
Just realize that you're hungry. You have your first beer. It's the best. So it's almost as good as your shitcoin doing a 2x within 5 minutes of buying it.
Yeah.
But I would say
if
you're young, if you can, even if you're old, you should try to stay out late. Controversial opinion, but some of the best, deepest relationships I've formed have been just partying until 2, 3 a.m. With people, and then you never forget them. If you've spent 3 hours with someone at those hours, then you've got a relationship, a bond, or hopefully you do. So yeah, there's a couple of relationships I've made coming out of ECC. I'll give a shout out to Max from NodeKit. We partied at Bear Rave together late into the morning, and he's my new homie coming out of ECC because of that one night. And the more like new homies you can make, like having 100 contacts is nothing compared to having 5 friends. So over
Yeah,
index for making real friendships.
the best advice I ever got before I started going to any conferences was, I was like, what should my goal be for this conference? And it was like, just make a friend. That's your only goal, is to make a real, actual, genuine friend at the conference. I think that is like the absolute best advice you can give anybody going to their first conference. Is like, don't
100%.
don't give yourself KPIs. Just try and make a genuine connection, have a real relationship. And it's amazing what can come out of that in this space. Looking forward, like, I guess last question, like, what would you like to see different for these conferences going forward? I don't know if it's just me, but it does feel like we're kind of, I don't know if overextending is the right word. I don't know if we're oversaturated. It doesn't necessarily feel like there's too many conferences, but there doesn't seem to be enough focus within. And I feel like something's got to give. And I don't know exactly what it is. Do you share this feeling at all? Like, do you feel like something needs to kind of change with how these conferences operate?
Not really something I'd considered, to be honest, Marcus. I think it's just an excuse for crypto people to come together. I don't know that we need like a actual conference. Like, I didn't go to the conference hall at all at ECC.
No.
Did you?
Yeah. No.
I think that a lot
Didn't
of
have a ticket.
sponsors are spending a lot of money on booths. It seems like there's a lot of waste, and the real value is from these side events. But just like maybe throwing bigger and better side events with more sponsors so that people don't have to like choose between 3 events happening at the same time that they want to go to, that could result in a better experience. Coordinating them all in like a smaller area so less time is spent commuting. So if an organizer of an event reached out to 5 venues that were all very near each other and then organized for all 5 venues to be taken every day of the conference and then slot in the people that'll do those sponsorships, like that might be a really interesting approach where you're familiar with the walk between each of them. You're not like taking an Uber to a new place. That's just off the top of my head. I'm not an event organizer by any, like that's not my skill set even remotely. So I don't know.
Shout out to all the event organizers who are banging down the door for sponsorships for event halls that people will not step foot in. Feels like there's some inefficiencies there to me. But it's like we keep doing it. So, I guess it's working. All right. Well, look, man, this was great. What's your next conference?
I'm going to KBW and then Token 2049. And in between, I'm spending a week at a large Airbnb in Bali, where I'll be surfing with some crypto bros and getting some work done.
Brutal. I don't know how you do it. Between Southern Italy and Bali, you must just wonder, how did I get here? What mistakes did I make?
Can't believe this is a real job.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like if there's one takeaway I have from Brussels and some of the backlash to Brussels is like, let's try and have a bit more gratitude as an industry for the wild and wonderful life that we get to live in this industry and the awesome relationships we get to make in far-flung corners of the world, from Singapore to Korea to Brussels to Salt Lake City next year. Another successful one in the bank. This is a great recap. Appreciate all the tips on how you think about this, approach it. I think it's all super helpful, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. Charco, thanks for coming, man. Appreciate you.
Well put, Marcus. Great seeing you. Thanks for the time.